PEDO. That four-letter word has everybody excited, especially if you match into the residency program. Stay tuned as we talk to a D4 student who just matched at her top PEDO program, and she's going to tell us how. Stay tuned. Hey, this is Dr. Darwin, the new dentist coach, with another episode of Ask Dr. Darwin on the New Dentist Podcast Show. We talk about getting into dental school, surviving dental school, getting into residency, and then life as a new dentist. Guys, be sure that you are continuing to share, comment, and then also putting into the comments things that you want to see different or you want to hear more about. That's helpful, giving us some feedback. But also know that today's episode of Ask Dr. Darwin is being brought to you by GetIntoDentalResidency.com. That's right, GetIntoDentalResidency.com. Right down here, the ultimate resource for you to help you get into the residency of your choice this application cycle. For more details, go check it out down below. And we hope to be able to help you real soon with your residency and your goals, okay? So today, special guest, another PEDO match. PEDO ortho. It's been back and forth. These are the two top residency program disciplines, specialty programs that a lot of people are having some success getting into, and today is no different. So today we're joined with student Dr. Maya McFrazier. How you doing?
Doing great. How are you doing?
Not as good as you. You just matched in PEDO, and not everyone can say they matched first time, first cycle. So please introduce yourself. Let the people know who are meeting you for the first time who you are and a little bit about you as well.
So my name is Maya. I am from Frankfort, Kentucky, and I went to college at the University of Louisville. I did a 1-year master's program at Louisville and then decided to stay for 4 more years, and I'm a D4 now at the University of Louisville School of Dentistry.
Cool. Louisville, Dr. Babbage.
Yes, Dr. Babbage. It's actually in a couple of days, it's Dr. Babbage Day, so we're getting ready to celebrate.
Yeah, well, it makes sense. She's been there for years and really been contributing a lot and assisting in the development of all the new dentists coming out of Kentucky.
For sure. I would not be where I am today if it wasn't for her. So
definitely. Absolutely. So tell us a little bit about why PEDO. Why did you decide PEDO as a discipline within dentistry instead of ortho, instead of oral surgery, instead of endo, instead of superior? Why PEDO for you?
So I actually had like a pretty good foundation with working with kids. Before I was in dental school, or really when I was in high school, I used to be a swim coach, or not a swim coach, but I used to teach swim lessons with kids. I used to referee for youth soccer games, and I used to work at my local YMCA. So I had like a good foundation with kids, but still it wasn't really on my radar when I was in dental school. I didn't think I was going to specialize at all. I thought I was going to go finish dental school, be a general dentist. But it was around like my 3rd year when I actually started to treat kids where that kind of shifted for me. I really just loved like the interaction that I had with kids. I love that if they came in fearful or crying, like at the end of the appointment, like if we were able to get that procedure done, or if they left with like a smile on their face, like that just gave me so much joy that I honestly surprised myself with. And so I actually talked to Dr. Babbage, and I was like, I think I really like PEDO. And she was like, okay, like go shadow this person. And so I did. I kept shadowing her, and I just fell in love with it. And I was like, okay, we'll give it a shot and apply. So
yeah, well, you gave it a good shot, all right. You got a great success rate here, and part of that success is, preparing the application and doing it early and getting all the components together. Share with us a little bit about how you you prepared for the application, when you started, and what were some key milestones in getting the pass application ready to be submitted for you.
Right. So, like I said, I was kind of like last minute with deciding that I was going to apply to PEDO. I didn't really decide that I was actually going to go for it until like May-ish, because I was like, well, should I just like, you know, wait a year, work and like build up, do more stuff, or should I just like give it a shot? And after just like talking to different people, they're like, you know, just go for it. And so I kind of had like a short window to get everything ready. But the first thing that I worked on was my resume, just like going back and making sure I had everything that I was involved with on my resume. I made sure I highlighted things that like I had done like even prior to dental school. Like I said, I work with kids at my YMCA, you know, teaching swim lessons, like, you know, working with soccer, all those things. I wanted to make sure I put on my resume because that does show that I have worked with kids outside of dentistry. Um, and then after that, my personal statement was something that was really big for me, something that I had to work a lot on with a short window. So I made sure to send it to, you know, my family, my friends. I had like a professional editor like look over it and just, you know, make sure I didn't have any like grammatical errors, make sure everything flowed correctly. And that kind of like ran into, you know, once I got interviews as well. Like I made sure like I practiced with friends, family, whoever I could get advice from.
Yeah, that part of the application, in addition to submitting it, but getting ready for the next step, which is the interview, is so important to prepare and to role play and actually do mock interviews. And that's one of the things that we have in the program, getting into dentalresidency.com. You guys can check it out right up here. You check that out, and that's one of the services of doing mock interviews and knowing what the questions are. And we're talking a little bit about that now because every program is different. Every program, PEDO program that you're going to be applying to, it may have a different mission, a different purpose. They may serve various types of populations, have different demographics. So it's really important to kind of do your research and figure out, you know, what programs are going to be the best fit for you. So share with us how you did that. How did you go about um, listing programs, reviewing programs, and coming up with your list that you were going to apply to, and why you applied to those programs as well?
Yeah, so something big for me was that I knew I didn't want to go too far from home if possible. So I tried to apply to schools that were like in my region or close to Kentucky. Um, Also, it was really hard because we're still in COVID times. So a lot of stuff is virtual and it's hard to get to know programs. And I think I don't know if this was how it was before, but this year some programs had like virtual externships or virtual like meet and greets with the residents and program directors. And that was a good way, honestly, to kind of like see like, okay, should I apply to the school? Did I get like a good vibe from the residents? Like, and that honestly, like there was a couple that I was like, I don't think I actually like will apply here. And then there were some where I was like, okay, like I'm definitely interested. I'm gonna apply. So that's something that was really helpful to do those virtual externships. Or I actually did one in person. Like I was kind of lucky that I did it in like a time period where like COVID wasn't too bad. It was kind of before it spiked again. So I was able to go in person, which it was like 20 minutes from where I live. So it wasn't like a big deal to like get there. But that also really helped, just being able to like meet the residents, the program directors in person, and then kind of have them have like a face to my name. So
Yeah, I know that's very popular. At least it has been in the past. To have some type of like internship where you can go for a couple days just to visit the program. And you're right, especially now that pedo is right up there as far as the level of competition and the number of applicants that are applying, up there with ortho and oral surgery. You know, you have to do something different to
right.
stand out, and having that face to face, that FaceTime in person is usually something that will help you kind of set yourself apart from other candidates, but also really strengthen your candidacy as well.
Right.
Because the next step is your interviews, and in addition to wanting to stand out before the interview so that you can get an interview, then it comes, all right, it's interview day and I've got to get prepared. So let's talk a little bit about um, the number of interviews that you received and what what a typical interview day was like, and or if you had um, uh, something that kind of stood out as far as your interview. I know sometimes some programs are now asking, some scenario based questions. What do you do if questions that have become a lot more popular now. So share a little bit about, your interviews, how many interviews you had and what kind of stood out for you.
Yeah, so I applied to 8 PEDO programs and I had 3 interviews. Um, and at those interviews, they were all virtual. So I was literally like in my room like I am now, which was nice because I was really comfortable. And then so for 2 of my interviews, the night before, we had like a virtual like meet and greet with the residents, which I love because you kind of got to get to know the residents on like a more casual level, and it just made the interview day a lot less stressful because it kind of prepared you and you kind of like got to know them already and got to know the program a little bit more. So it just kind of like made the day a lot easier. I would say honestly, I didn't get like too many like crazy questions. Um, I definitely had like, the most common ones, like tell me about yourself, why pedo. I made sure I practiced like the strengths and weaknesses question. But with pedo, I did get like the what are your favorite like Disney characters, or what's your spirit animal, stuff like that. But I was kind of like prepared for that because I had talked to people who had interviewed before, or so I didn't honestly get too many off the wall questions. And if I did get them, it was from residents. Like I never got it from any faculty. Like the faculty that I interacted with, it was very just getting to know me. And it was just having like a conversation, honestly. It wasn't too intimidating in my
Yeah, that's
point of view.
good. So it sounds like your interviews went well, very smooth, laid back, probably fun when you got a chance to talk a little bit more about your favorite Disney characters. I know we've had some people on the episode share that they had to do a Disney dance and they had to sing a song
Oh
and
yeah, yeah.
all the fun stuff that we
I
used
would have been
to
down
do.
to do it, but no, I was never put on the spot like that. So
Lucky you, lucky you.
lucky me, I didn't prepare for that. So
Yeah,
worked
yeah.
out.
Well, the next thing, after you prepare and you prepare for your via mock interviews, you go to the interviews, you now have to go home and you have to think about these 3 programs, right?
Mhm.
And lots of times what happens is that your 1, 2, and 3 after the interviews, your 3 could be a 2, the 2 could be a 3, the 1 could stay a 1, or the 1 could come a 3, and the 3 becomes a 1. It just really, depends on the vibe, like you were saying.
For
Uh,
sure.
s- so, and then you have to kind of rank your programs, especially if they're match programs. So share with us a bit how you went through that process, keeping in mind that I know one of the reasons one of the guidelines that you use to select your programs was something close to home, close to the region,
Right.
not too far away, so location, but also kind of keeping in mind that you have location, but what are some of the other factors that you saw either before interviewing or after interviewing that assisted you in making your your final list of where you wanted to go, 1, 2, and 3?
So with the 3 interviews that I had, luckily they were all, close to home. Like 2 of them were in Kentucky, so my like home school, and then the other school, which is actually closer to like where I grew up, So those were, already like really close to home, things that I
Mhm.
was looking for. The other one was at Indiana, which is only a couple hours from home. So all three of the places that I interviewed at, they all checked that box in terms of proximity. And then they all were really good in terms of they all have great clinical experience. Um, the only thing really that differed and that honestly ended up being like a big factor for me was that one of the schools was kind of like 50-50 with like clinical experience and like academics, where the other two were just straight clinical experience. I kind of wanted a mixture of both. Just talking to some of the residents at the programs that were mostly focused on clinical experience, like when I asked them like, okay, like what were some things that you wish could be better at your program, that like when it came to like studying for boards and stuff, like they had to do a lot of that stuff on their own because when they were at school or in the clinic, like it was just seeing patients. They weren't getting
Mhm.
much didactic experience. And I kind of, for myself, I know how I am. Like I just thrive better when there's a didactic component to it. So that honestly was what was the deciding factor for me. It was I wanted to go to a program that was like 50-50, where I knew I was going to have like a good solid foundation didactically and as well get a lot of good clinical experience.
Yeah, and both of them are important, especially depending on what you plan on doing after residency. You want to be prepared to just be able to deliver care anywhere, right?
Exactly.
But also, there's a component of the didactic component related to board preparation, right? And especially if you have aspirations to teach or to
Mm.
be a program director in the future, you want to make sure that you get that board certification
For-
preparation and achieve that status pretty early on. So all
mm.
those kind of go into determining what program is going to be the best fit for you. You know.
That's
So
ultimately what it came down to. Is like I went with what I thought would be best for me.
yeah, yeah, and that's what you have to do because it's a what 2 year program or three.
Yeah, 2-year program.
So I mean, 720 days. I mean, it's all you. You have to be. You're in the trenches by
Right.
yourself, doing it for yourself.
And I also think like if I had worked for a year, like I probably would have had a different perspective and I probably would have been more comfortable just going, straight into a program that was just clinical experience heavy. But since, I am still a fourth year dental student, we have had been affected by COVID. Like I wanted to go to a program where I was gonna get that foundation that I
Yeah,
knew that I needed.
yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. And now we're trying to make sense of those three programs. One, two, and three. So let's just find out, guys. You guys are listening, watching. Let's just find out. So, all right. So, where are you going to be taking your talents to? Drum roll, please. Drum roll.
So I'm going to be going to Indiana University. And
Yay, Indiana! Congratulations.
thank you. Thank you. I'm
Uh,
really
good
excited.
good friend and colleague is there. Board certified pediatric dentist, Dr. Tawana Ware. You know, did you meet Dr. Ware?
I haven't, but I've heard. I've heard. But I haven't met her yet.
That's great. That's great. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Indianapolis, right? No.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Indianapolis. Indianapolis.
Indianapolis. Yeah.
Good. 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 Okay. Well, that's good. Well, what also is going to be good is hearing from you about advice and tips. Again, pedo and ortho. I'm telling you, I get so many questions, get so many direct messages, emails about preparing for pedo and ortho. So
Yeah.
knowing what you know now and the process that you went through, what are like at least 3 or 4 tips that you want to give or share with applicants who are preparing and making that transition to prepare for their applications for pedo residency?
Yeah, I would say definitely because it is, like you said, it's so competitive. There's so many people. It's becoming, really popular. So I think something that's really important is to find ways where you can like make yourself stand out in a crowd because like you said there's levels to it. The first thing is like making your application pop so you can get an interview, and then once you get an interview you got to make sure that they remember you, so that when it comes time to ranking, like you're one of their people that they rank.
Now,
um,
now, now, what would you think based on that? What do you think helped you stand out?
I would say definitely the fact that I did the virtual externship and the externship in person, because I know not too many people were able to actually go visit in person. So with that school, like when it came to that interview, like the residents like already knew who I was. Like we
Yep.
already had like a relationship established, and I was able to build on that throughout the semester, leading up to the interview. And so
Mhm.
that was something that I felt like really helped me with that program.
Good, good.
Um,
All right. So that's one tip. Find ways to stand out. What else? What else?
I would say also to reach out to current residents that are in the programs that you're interested in, because one, they're going to be able to give you like a fresh perspective because they're in the program currently. Um, and then two, residents also have like a big um, like their opinion is weighted pretty heavily when it comes to ranking you as an applicant. Like I feel like that's
Yeah.
something that wasn't really, I didn't really know until I was like going through the process where they're like, oh yeah, like residents, also will like rank who they want there too. And so
Yeah.
if you can build a relationship with them and just kind of pick their brain on what they like about their program, what could be better, like that's
Yeah.
just another way that you can stand out.
And usually the best time, once you get to the through the application phase and get an interview is at the meet and greet the night before, or the day before, or the evening after your or the evening after your interviews. You should be asking those residents questions because they're going to be your colleagues. You're going to be learning from them, and they're going to be learning from you during the 2 years that you're there. So, hashtag residents matter, especially ones at the programs where you're applying to. They
Exactly.
they they have a voice as well. They definitely have a voice. All right, so that's two. That's two. What's the last tip you want to share with applicants?
I would say definitely prepare early if possible. I know in my scenario,
Mm,
I didn't know that I wanted to go into pediatrics, so I was at a fault there. But if you do know it's what you want to do, prepare early. Like know who you want to have to write your letter of recommendation. Like some schools, they want you to have a letter of recommendation from like a faculty member in at your school in the pediatric.
that's right.
And like at the time, like I didn't really have like a strong relationship with any of the faculty. Like I had shadowed here and there, but not enough to where I felt comfortable asking for a letter of recommendation. So that's something definitely that looking back on now, if I knew that pediatrics is what I wanted to go into, I would have made a greater effort on, having a good relationship with the faculty at my school, and then as well just preparing on knowing who I want to ask for letter recommendations, starting to write your personal statement early because I edited and revised my personal statement so many times. And I was working with a short window, like I said. So if I would have started like in December, January, like it would have been done and less stress for sure.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Stress matters too, right? So if you start early, you'll have a little bit less stress
For sure.
and going through the process because the process is already stressful, especially when it comes to interviews. If you have to travel and coordinate the travel and stay overnight,
Exactly.
and then you got your rank list. You're trying to figure out what's the match uh, uh, um, how is that all put together and what do I do? It's a lot.
It is
It's a lot. And then it's 24 hours before a match. You're like,
fun.
are they
I'm
gonna call? They're gonna email? Where am I going? I need to know.
right. I'm so
Oh,
glad I'm past that. Yeah,
yeah,
that was nerve-wracking. But also
yeah.
I would say too, for people who are maybe like me, who kind of were like, oh, I'm just gonna do general dentistry, like keep an open mind because
Mm-hmm.
that
Mm-hmm.
was something, honestly, that if you told me I would be going into pediatric dentistry when I was a D1, I would have been like, no, you're wrong. So
Yeah,
definitely just keep your options open and just stay ready so you don't have to get ready. That's my
yeah. And your experience is proof that you don't have to know your D1 year. You don't have to know your D2 year
yeah.
that you want to specialize. If you already know, that's great. But if you don't, it's not the end of the world, right? You didn't know until your D3 year was like, oh my God, I'm liking this pedo thing. I'm gonna apply. And that's fine. It happens. It happens the way it's supposed to happen for people. And all of that's gonna be different.
Exactly.
For everybody. It's gonna be different. Well, your information today definitely is gonna make a difference for people who are applying to pedo. And if people have questions and they want to contact you, ask you some more questions, what's the best way to get in contact with you?
So I'm on social media, so Facebook, Maya McFrazier, Instagram at Maya McFrazier, very very simple with my names. Or you have my email that you can put on the podcast or YouTube, and I'll respond to
Good.
any of those. So
Sounds good. Now, give me Instagram again. What'd you say?
at Maya McFrazier. So
At
just
Maya McFrazier. There you go. There you go. All right. Well, soon to be Dr. Maya McFrazier. What's the countdown? How many days?
I think we have 85 days. I think we have 86 days. Which is
Okay. Wait till it's under 30. You'll know the days, the hours, and the minutes.
Oh my gosh, yeah. There's a lot that's got to happen before then.
Yes. But we appreciate you taking the time, taking today and the minutes today to kind of go over and we're proud of you. So glad to hear that you've been successful in matching into PEDO, and your story has been helpful. Hopefully these videos here are helpful as well. And that's our time for today. Love, peace, and smiles. See you next week, next video, next week.